Game week 2 gave us everything. Chelsea crushed West Ham, Spurs stunned Manchester City, Arsenal gave a 5-star performance, and United stumbled again. And the best part, Liverpool versus Newcastle is still to come. My name is Hitesh, you're watching Sultan of Soccer, let's break it all down. Kicking off game week 2 was Chelsea's visit to West Ham. Chelsea's first half blitz dismantled West Ham at the London Stadium. Paqueta scored an early goal after Esteban's error, but after that, Chelsea immediately hit back. João Pedro equalized, Pedro Neto walled in a cracker, and Enzo Fernandez buried Esteban's assist. In second half, we saw that Caicedo smashed one home and Chalobah capped the rout. Esteban, only 18, became Chelsea's youngest Premier League assist provider. Chelsea finished with 61% of possession, 20 shots and total control. Meanwhile, West Ham set an unwanted record by conceding 8 goals in the first 2 games, their worst start ever. Graham Potter is already under fire, the fans are furious. And you know what, at this point, West Ham fans are probably wishing that this transfer window came with a refund policy. And Esteban looked like a kid doing work experience until he dished out the assist like a Michelin star chef. Saturday was Spurs at the Etihad to face the mighty Manchester City, but least to say Spurs shocked Etihad. Brennan Johnson scoring inside 12 minutes and now João Paulinho scoring the second goal after Trafford misplaced the pass. Manchester City, to say the least, dominated the ball with 70% possession and 10 shots but failed to score. Haaland surprisingly had only 2 touches in Spurs' box. Spurs defended deep, countered smartly and frustrated Guardiola yet again. Remarkably, Spurs are been responsible for 3 out of 6 of City's games where they have trailed by 2 goals or more. Pep Guardiola might have a 200-page playbook, but Spurs only needed the good old defend, break, bang tactic. And Haaland, he touched the ball fewer times than me touching my remote on a Saturday morning. Bournemouth hosted Wolves. Marcus Tavernier gave Bournemouth an early lead on 4th minute with a heavily deflected goal. Wolves on their part did create some chances but were down to 10 men because of Totti's last man challenge, which was a red card, and they were down to 10 men at the 50th minute. Bournemouth held firm and secured their first 3 points for the season. Wolves ended up with only 2 shots on target in spite of 11 attempts. Marcus Tavernier, his goal was so deflected, to be really honest, he should be sending a thank you card to Wolves. And as for Wolves down to 10 men, honestly, they look like playing with 9 men since kickoff. Brentford versus Aston Villa. Brentford's new manager Keith Andrews got his first win thanks to record signing Dango Ouattara. The winger scored on 12 minutes, finishing a quick rebound. Villa dominated the position at 62%, had 15 shots, but couldn't just find the end of the net. Brentford defended well, defended with discipline, and saw the game out. A debut goal and a first win, which means a perfect day for Bees. Ouattara's goal came so quick that Villa fans were still finding their seats. Burnley versus Sunderland, the 2 new promoted sides facing each other. Burnley grabbed their first win of the season in front of a rocking Turf Moor. Josh Cullen opened the score on the 52nd minute from a close range. Sunderland tried pushing for an equalizer, but Anthony broke away on the 78th minute to seal the victory. Burnley did look sharp and extended their unbeaten home run from last season. Burnley looked like Barcelona. Well, I should say Stoke Barcelona, but it still worked. Sunderland's defense, on the other hand, had bigger holes than Swiss cheese. Well, the celebration says it all, doesn't it? Arsenal versus Leeds. Arsenal smashed 5 goals against Leeds United, with Jurrien Timber opening the scoring with an assist provided by Declan Rice. Jurrien Timber scored again in the second half and also provided assist for Saka's goal. Saka scored a banger but ultimately ended up leaving the pitch limping. It's a very worrying time being an Arsenal fan, especially with Arsenal going to Anfield next week. Victor Gyökeres, the £55 million summer signing, scored his first 2 Premier League goals, but the second came from a penalty spot after 15-year-old Max Daumann was fouled. Daumann, on the other hand, became one of the youngest ever players to feature in the league, fearless, confident, and immediately impactful. Arsenal dominated the ball with 68% possession, 22 shots, 9 shots on target, and on the other hand, Leeds only had 3 shots in total. And to top it all off, it was the unveiling of my boy Eberechi Eze. I'm so excited to see him in an Arsenal jersey. The only downside right now are injuries to Bukayo Saka and Odegaard, which could affect the preparations for that game against Liverpool at Anfield. To say the least, 5 goals, a debut wonder kid, a new signing unveiled. I was so happy that I almost forgot that Saka limped off. And as far as goes for Gyökeres, I'm convinced that he's Thierry Henry's long-lost cousin. And Max Naumann, what can we say? He's just 15-year-old. When I was 15, all I remember was just like whining and complaining to my parents that I couldn't hang out with my friends late at night. Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest at Selhurst Park, the so-called El Clasico. Ismail Yassar opened the scoring by scoring the first goal of the game, but ultimately Callum Hudson-Odoi equalized Forest on the 62nd minute. Palace did dominate possession, but Forest remained resilient. Both teams remain unbeaten, but clearly they failed to create any clear-cut chances during the match. They call it El Clasico, but for me it was more like El Midico, because both the teams were playing like they are allergic to 3 points. Last game of the weekend was Fulham versus Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes did have an opportunity to open his account for this season, but ended up missing a penalty. Manchester United did take the lead because of Rodrigo Muniez's own goal, but at the end of the day, Fulham in their second half, they equalized with Emil Smith-Rowe scoring the equalizer, and that was done 93 seconds of coming onto the pitch. United's manager Ruben Amorim did look really frustrated. He was unhappy with his players that they were so defensive. United at the end of the day have just finished with 4 shots on target out of all the 15 attempts that they took. Bruno Fernandes, his penalty, honestly, I think the ball landed in my back garden. And as far for United's game plan goes on, it was simple: score early, miss a penalty, be defensive, drop points, rinse and repeat. That's what Manchester United is all about at this point. Newcastle Liverpool, well, to say the least, it's going to be a blockbuster Monday night football match. It's going to be really interesting to see how Liverpool cope up with Newcastle's physicality in the middle of the park. For me, honestly, it's going to be a wrestling match with the likes of Joe Linton, Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali dominating probably the midfield physically, at least for Newcastle. It's going to be really also be interesting to see how Newcastle go and create those chances as well as bury those chances, if at all, without Alexander Isak. I hope Alexander Isak's transfer saga is resolved by the end of this transfer window. Well, that's all that we have for Game Week 2. Game Week 2 is in the books with Arsenal flying, Chelsea smashing, Spurs stunning, and United stumbling again. And one more huge clash still to come on Monday night. Well, now it's your turn. Tell me, who was your player of the week? Was it Timber bossing the defense? Was it Gyökeres scoring his first 2 goals? Or Brennan Johnson stunning City? Drop your comments and I'll be replying to them as many as I can. If you have enjoyed this recap, please click the like button, subscribe if you're new, press the bell icon, because my Liverpool versus Newcastle video will be out as soon as the dust will settle at St. James's Park. Well, my name is Hitesh. This is Sultan of Soccer. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care of yourself and your loved ones, and I'll see you in the next video.